Welcome to Foundation Friday. The dedication and covenant of silent unity was signed on December 7th, 1892 by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, founders of the Unity movement. It is unlikely when they signed this covenant that they had any idea how far-reaching unity would be as it evolved into the church we know and love today. We invite you to join us as we explore and share some of the original ideas, teachings, and writings of the men and women who created the foundation of the Unity Church.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us for our Foundation Friday program. This week, we're getting ready for 4th of July, and I came across this sermon delivered by Eric Butterworth in 1979. This was his 4th of July talk. Not that I'm Eric Butterworth, but I can certainly read his words and we can enjoy them together. Remember, this was written for 4th of July in 1979. And I just realized I assumed you all know who Eric Butterworth is or was. He was one of the great metaphysical teachers in Unity. He's written several books and he was a remarkable speaker, definitely one of our foundation teachers here at Unity. So here we go. The greatest freedom. On this coming Wednesday, July 4th, known as Independence Day, there will be a lot of talk about freedom. And against the backdrop of long gas lines, strikes, shortages, and the harassment of inflammation pressures, there may well be a desire to redefine the word freedom. Everyone hungers for freedom from lack, from illness, from fear, and from bondage to any and all circumstances over which we have no control. In America, we have not only entertained the idea of freedom as doing what we want, but also of having what we want. This is why gasoline shortages are so annoying. All we can think of is if we have money to buy it, there should always be freedom to have it. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." We miss the real meaning if we think of freedom from gas lines, freedom from shortages, freedom from pain, etc. For there are no shortages, no limitation in God or in truth. These things are in our human experience. Truth makes you free in mind, free from worry, free from discouragement, and free to choose the level of consciousness in which you will meet life and changing circumstances. Unfortunately, we have thought of freedom as an escape rather than as a creative act. The emphasis has been on freedom from something rather than freedom to do or to be something. The emphasis has been on dropping out or running away, but the greatest freedom is the freedom to grow into the strong person we are created to be, facing up to and successfully coping with those things we otherwise try to escape from. If we try to escape, to run away, to lean on people or society's institutions, or to use chemicals, drugs, and alcohol as means of deadening the pain or softening the blow, we are not achieving freedom. Freedom is not an escape. Freedom is the choice to be strong, to understand, to find a transcendent way. The beauty of Walden is not that Thoreau went away by himself, but that he came back. When we come back, freedom is a possibility. It is not running from the job, from the painful situation, but it is going away to get a new perspective, to find inner strength, and then returning to face up to it. In July, about 500 people are going to walk to Allentown for our annual retreat. Undoubtedly, many persons are leaving problems and pressures and personalities from which this certainly could appear to be the great escape. But the goal of the retreat is not to provide a temporary oasis from the world out there. It is rather to awaken some inner strengths by by which each one may come back and meet his situation with poise and power. Freedom is not isolating yourself from darkness, but the courage to go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God, which shall be to you better than light and safer than an unknown way. One man had been crippled all his life, yet he had made a great success of everything he engaged in. He was asked the secret of his success. He said he had made it a practice to concentrate on his strength rather than his weaknesses, to keep positive and refuse to indulge in self-pity. When he was asked, "But hasn't your crippled condition colored your outlook on life?" he replied, "Of course it has colored my outlook, but I have always chosen the colors." We miss the point if we insist that if the man really were free, he would no longer be crippled. Others, there are other many physical sound people who are mental cripples, and many unusual persons like this man who have physical handicaps and still have a freedom that transcends the limitations. The greatest freedom is not freedom from things or conditions. It is the freedom to be, the freedom to choose the kind of thoughts you think in the face of things. In the book of Revelations, we read, "Behold, I have set before thee a door opened which no man can shut." In other words, we are always in the flow, but we must realize it, keep ourselves consciously in tune with it. You may lose your job, but you can never lose your ability to create. Even if you are fired, you can never be fired from the universe. You may lose your house, but you can never really lose your true home in spirit, nor the spirit that made your house a home. No one has the power to shut the door to the real source for your good. Nothing can really stand in your way. Recall the story of Joseph, whose brothers sold him into slavery. It was a harsh introduction into the adult world, but it is likely that Joseph had been a spoiled brat in need of some harsh experience to make a man of him. This was certainly not a humane way to go about it, but somehow he met the crisis and made his way through a chain of serendipitous circumstances to become a prime minister of Egypt. Later, to his brothers, he said, "Ye may have intended it for evil, but God intended it for good." This is the greatest freedom, to choose how you meet things. You can name it good. Instead of commiserating and resenting or indulging in self pity, you can know that things are working for good. If you announce after some reversal or disappointment, "Well, there go my chances of success," then that is the level of consciousness on which you will be working on for the immediate future. Is that really what you want to happen? You can close your mind to life this way. but life never closes its doors to you. What seems to be a closed door is but the illusion created by your own negative feelings. Whistler, who eventually became a renowned painter, wanted as a youth to become a soldier. At West Point, as a cadet, he failed a chemistry exam, and that terminated his military career. Somehow, he knew the promise of the open door that no one could close. He tuned in on the relentless force within that is ever seeking to lead one to the perfect fulfillment of his uniqueness. This did not mean the freedom to have what he wanted, to become a soldier at all costs, but it was the freedom from anything that could stand in the way of his good. As Schiller said, freedom is not doing what you want, but becoming what you must. So, thwarted in his desire to be a soldier, Whistler found himself ultimately following more artistic pursuits, which proved to be the right course for his life. In later years, he joked about the seeming chance thing that turned his life around. He said, if silicon had been a gas, I might have been a general instead of an artist. This is reminiscence of Shakespeare's classic lines from As You Like It. Sweet are the uses of adversity, which, like the toad, ugly and venomous, wears yet a precious jewel in its head. And this our life, except from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. This is an important key. You too can find good in everything. Any challenge or change can work for good, and you make a blessing out of whatever appears to be a handicap. If you will take your stand and choose the kind of attitudes with which you meet it all, know that the door is forever open, and get yourself into this inescapable flow. The greatest freedom is the freedom to know the truth in the face of that which is negative. It is the freedom to be creative in spite of the problem. It may it, if, it may result in a healing process leading to freedom from the problem itself. But sometimes we put so much effort into trying to demonstrate freedom from the condition that we can create an inner resistance that negates the outer gains. In other words, we must be sure that we are willing and not just willful to know that there is an open door that no man may shut, but it is a divine flow and not just a particular way that it must express. It means to keep an open mind, to keep positive in thought, to keep loving in tone. Knowing the truth is not just mouthing cliches of absolute truth, such as divine love heals all things. Many students on the spiritual path have become metaphysical sloganers. Actually, love will not solve the world's problems. Love will not solve anything. Loving will. Love is an abstraction. Loving is a creative flow of energy that harmonizes and heals. We talk about practical Christianity, but it is only practical when it is practiced. It is so easy to collect and parrot metaphysical propositions and affirmations of truth, but there is a great need to translate them into dynamic activities set into operation by a conscious act. We must choose the truth we know. We all desire to be free, to be whole, to conquer fear and worry, to live as we would like to live and do what we want to do. This desire is built into our very nature. The trouble is, we have been so busy seeking freedom from certain things that we have not considered the alternatives. What do we want this freedom to do? True wholeness is not a lack of illness or pain. It is the coordination of mind and body and talents in the direction of a worthwhile investment in one's life. Prosperity is not just an absence of lack. It is a creative flow of wisdom and guidance, and the commitment of oneself to some creative endeavor from which there is a sure and secure return of substance. The urge to be free is misconstrued as the longing to get out from under, to be rid of unbearable conditions. The labor market is crowded with frustrated workers who run from job to job, constantly exercising their prerogative to be free from, but never facing up to themselves so as to make the creative choice to be free to apply their talents in the direction of success. On this Independence Day, let us reflect upon this new insight into freedom, not the attempt to get freedom from oppression, from people, from problems, from pain, from insecurity. Let us instead begin to think of freedom in a more creative sense. The freedom to be, the freedom to become something, the freedom to be big enough to deal with the experience of life, not just freedom to erase difficulties and eliminate people, as we may be subconsciously desiring, but rather freedom to release our spiritual capabilities. When we understand this, we will begin to let go not only of our problems, but also of our rigid metaphysical concepts about them, and then to walk on and begin each new anew in our quest for understanding. For the greatest freedom is the choice to begin again. Thank you. That, of course, was the reading of the words of Reverend Eric Butterworth in his address of 1976, which honestly doesn't feel that long ago to me, but it really was. And it's getting farther and farther away every day. Some of what was said there really didn't apply. However, so much of it did. As we get ready to celebrate the 4th of July this coming week, let us join together and celebrate the freedom to be, to create, to love. Thank you for being with us today. Before we go, please know you matter. You are sacred, and you are so, so very loved. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.